Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm Dell and this is From the Depths, and it's looking a little different because this is just released, the version 2.2.4 I think it's up to at the moment, and there's a few graphical changes is the biggest point about this, but we're just going to go through a few changes. Now obviously the first thing is the graphics. This is the default graphics and everything is a little sharper. There's bloom effects, shadings, etc. So just going through some of the things, this is some bits I noticed have changed or look quite nice. Machinery, wood blocks, stone, metal, alloy. You can see there's a shininess to it now. Well, glass I can't see because it's glass, yeah. Lead blocks, rubber, just some surge protectors, armour. I quite like the red now on this fuel canisters. That looks very good. Ammo is about normal ammo processors. The RTGs have got some nice definition on them. They're very nicely done. The engines looking metallic, let's put it that way, so not bad. And we got here some steam boilers with a control and a fire block, again looking very metal. Sorry, my mouse is a little fast on this. Now I personally I'm already getting a bit stuttery on this, and I've got hardly anything loaded, by the way. Now I'm running default settings here, and I just feel that the bloom here is a little too much, too intense at this moment. If I go into, that's E, the tactical mode, it just and it's just like whited out. It's terrible. Even in the map, the edges, you can see the white balance here. You can't see any of the detail. A little too high on the bloom. And another issue which I'll get into is locating things on the map. But so that's the default maximum setting. So I'm just what I'd say is turn down some of the bloom and intensities. So in option, I'm going to take you through my options. So in options, I've let's see, ambient light down to 1.5, I think it was I found. Intensity reflection down to 1, sun intensity 1.5, bloom intensity down to 0.5, and the threshold up to 1.5. I will look at the, and yeah, that should be a good starting point. Let's go back, and yes, it's a little darker now. You could say it could be a bit, but less bloom. Maybe the you can play with that. Maybe the sun intensity could go up a little bit, but you know, generally okay. Now one big thing is things like reflections in the water. So if we do go over here, I'm using the full version on the water now. You can see the reflection of the ship in the water, and if we go underneath as well, under the water isn't looking too great, but you can see the reflection of items. If we go over to the Nelson, which is over here, and I am getting stutters and I've got hardly anything loaded, again nice reflections in the water. I haven't set the waves up high at this moment. That's a normal 1 meter wave. If I put the waves up as well, which is a nice, I think really good on the waves, so that's a wave of 1. If I put it up to, let's put it up to 3. There we go. So you can see the waves going across the ship. It's very nice, and this stays fairly level, but smaller ships you'll find will bob in the waves. I don't know if you can see the stutters I'm getting there, but it is already still stuttering. Now the other option in here is this UI is not great. It's good, but there's bits where if you pull down on a menu here, you need that to expand. It's not, because if I now pull down, it resets it. So I have to go there and have a scroll mouse. If you haven't got a scroll mouse, you can't change it. So we'll go to screen space water reflections just to see what the difference is. So a little less but hopefully a little bit less intensive on your machines. Or you can turn off the reflections totally. No water reflections. There we go. That'll help a little bit. I'm still getting stutters. So there's it's okay, but you know, a little bit of stutter on there, and the reflections are really good, I must admit. Just to know, I've got my LODs on, particle factors, and the graphics are on full but without shadows. So I'm just running, but everything else is turned on. You can turn back on this enable GPU Ocean and disable that, and you will go back to the old style of C, which I'm still getting a little minor bit of stutter every now and again in this. So, but I have been getting that in the game recently anyway, but prior to this version, but only in very large battles. We'll turn the other water back on. So what else has changed? Okay, one good thing. So we've got the differences in blocks. Now if I turn the UI on, another good thing is when you hover on something, it highlights, which I think is really good, because sometimes you're trying to select one block and you don't know if you've selected the block or the block next to it. So I think when the UI is on, I think that is very good. You can tell which one you're about to destroy, especially if you've got your in build mode. You can see exactly which one you're touching of the blocks, which I think is which is handy when you've got these multi-part blocks. So there's a good little extra. Another big part on this was ACBs, automated control blocks. The advancement on these is great. So if we have a look at one, conditions, they're nicely set out. You can minimize the ones except the one that you have selected. So because I'm in this vehicle stats, I can't minimize it, but everything else will minimize. Lots of options plus new ones. Time of day, am I within a resource zone, am I being attacked by a laser? I think that's going to be handy. Altitudes, commands, you know, it has a yaw, pitch, roll, etc. command being put in. So enemy, this is quite a good one. So enemy, what is the bearing to the enemy? There's a lot of new items for bearing to the enemy and target. The other great one is most of the ACBs have a minimum and maximum. So here, so you could say range to the target is, so you can set between, so you could say say 1,000 to 3,000, or not 1,000 to 1,009 to 3,000. Let's just change that. You can say not, which is invert. So that's handy. Good addition. That makes up for quite a range of possibilities. The target, i.e. what you're going to do, everything from air pumps, let's see, so buoyancy, AI, so mainframes, detection components. That's a good one. You can turn off certain detectors if you wanted to. I like that idea. A lot of these are similar to what was there before. Sails is interesting. Winching the sails in and out, I quite like that one. Heat decoys, being able to turn your heat decoys on and off. Setting your laser colour, so you could change the colour of your laser depending on some factor, which I think is good. Shield projectors, being able to change the type to so here if we got an example, laser. If we'd been attacked by a laser in the last 10 minutes, then set the shield to be laser absorb, as an example. So that'd be handy. Let's see, what else have we got in here? Lights, being able to turn lights on and on, hologram, smoke and smoke dispensers, being able to release smoke. So yes, if big vehicle is being attacked by a laser, then release smoke. So ACBs, quite interesting. So what you could do with them. So, you know, here's an example. If the enemy is between 1,000 to 3,000 on the AI, put it into combat mode. Quite simple, really. Some other nice little bits is an interesting one is spotlights and lights. So what we'll do, these are a spotlight, and you can set the angle of the spotlight, what colour it is, its range that it will go out to, and its intensity. It's all set to 0 at the moment because I'm using a couple of ACBs to turn the spotlights on. So let's see what happens if I change the time of day in here, which is setting these between 7 and 1800, turn all the lights off, and between 7 to 1800, sorry, the other way around, 7 to 1800 turn the lights off. If it's outside of that range, so inverted, turn them on. So let me just change the lights. So if we go up to 1900 and resume, the lights come on. So here we have a nice spotlight, and you can see the spotlight there. Now you could also, if I get my character, where are we, put these on a block, so it could point at things, or maybe put it on a turret so you can see what the turret is pointed at. I quite like the idea of that. It's got a range of about 500, so not massive, but good enough to work. I don't know if this will affect spotter components, i.e. visual components at night. If you've got a camera, it doesn't work at night. But would it work if the item is under a spotlight? Would the visual work? They've only got a range of 500 at the moment, so it's not like it's going out for thousands, but it's an interesting little concept I quite like. We'll put the time of day back to 12 again. Which means they all turned off, which is great. So, okay, other little changes and bits. Small advanced cannons got 10 coolers effectively inside their control block. So here we have, I'm going to turn this back on so I can see what I'm doing. A very simple, let's get over here so I can see what I'm doing. So you can see the newer UI, 18mm, and you can see that speed is 0.14 seconds cooldown. That makes this roughly have a range, a rate of fire of about, I think that's close to 2,000 rounds per minute, 2,500 rounds per minute. So if I just fire the gun, just the sounds, I do not match the gun. So the gun was still firing, but the sounds were not keeping up because it is such a high rate of fire. So that will be great for the small guns, good bonus. And this is what you can do with just a fairly small build here. Nothing too grand, 36mm gun, and yes. So this, if I just put it down to the white gun, there we go, is so that runs at 2,200 rounds per minute on a 36mm gun. So yeah, that's a definite improvement over previous. If you reduce the gauge on that, you can get it to over 3,000 rounds per minute quite easily. The actual RPM in the selector doesn't actually go that high. That's how high you can get it. In general, this is good. I was having a debate in that other discussion as about simple weapons. This helps because if you made that, instead of being a Gatling gun like that, you could just make it a 6-barreled gun like that, and this will still load now quite quickly, and is equivalent to some of the better than the simple cannons, because the fire rate's just going to be great even at a 60mm. It'll be firing a couple of times a second. We'll try that in a minute once it's loaded up. Bad bit, or a good bit, bad bit. Good bit, as I say, it's improved the things. Oh, it's damn stutter. Bad bit is all the guns are going to be increased. So your enemy's guns, those that had already a massive rate of fire, are going to have an even more massive rate of fire. Although it will scale, this is more small. You know, everything gets an improvement. So all of your all the guns using advanced cannons will be improved, which means these will be the meta guns to use in one way or another. We'll go. Is this loaded now? Let's just wait for this to load, and then we'll give this a quick go. So the gun's now loaded. Let's just give it a quick test fire and see what it's like. These are belt fed, but let's just see what 60mm. Not bad. So that's 0.86, which is about 6970 rounds per minute. So okay, that's quite good. So that's most of the weapons. Some other bits and pieces I like is over colours and just generally colorization of things. So lasers, obviously you've got a laser colour and you can change it with the ACBs as always. I think people are used to laser colours. You know, you can set whatever colour you like, a little red laser for those that like good old Imperial red. And another good thing is the smoke generators. You can change the smoke generator colour, which I think is quite cool. Smoke signals are in. Another silly item, but I find useful for people, since I tend to put chairs all over the place in my ships. You can have multiple chairs and define one of them as the primary by the one you press Q it. So I'm now in the chair, and if I do the square brackets, I can move between the chairs in the ship. So it now means if you've got more than one chair in your ship, and you then, sorry for the whiteout there, this particular view is terrible now. If I now go to warp to this vehicle, it will take me to the chair where I'd press the Q, which is, I think, great. Yeah, it's great for the people who like to put lots of chairs, which I do. You can define one which you know will be the captain's chair, so to speak. Okay, so that's most of the changes. Generally, really good. I think it needs a bit of optimization. As I said, the settings were a little bit better. Other little bits is like this map view. Another problem, I've turned off my personal icons. I've got no icons for the fleet. The fleet icons are missing. And this green and blue, could you tell that there was some ships here and a ship down the bottom here without really zooming in? Whoop. Yeah, and then when you want to move a ship, you can hardly see the little controller that tells you that needs to be a lot clearer. Just brighten those up, guys. Will be great. But otherwise, you know, I don't know what's happened to the personal icon. I've turned it off, so I should get the little skull and crossbones, but I'm not getting that. It's showing for enemy ships, but not for myself. Let's just think of it. So that's basically the new version. Generally, really good. Glad to see it, and if he works on missiles over this next quarter, I'll be more than happy, because I love my missiles. Can't wait to get involved with those. So there was one other major change again, which I think will help considerably, which I think I didn't go over. Let me just check if this actually did get into the post. No, that's not that. I think it was for torps. Bear with me. Yes, so one change for missiles, or more importantly torpedoes, is they now have a variable propeller now. So instead of it was just a torpedo propeller, which is still there, which just gives you your standard setup, you've got a variable propeller. And the variable propeller, you've got the ramp up time and a thrust up to 2,000, so you can go up to double what it was previously on the propeller, which is, I think, is good. Saves a extra block. I don't use too many propellers, but I know some people that like to use very fast torpedoes. So the ramp up time and the thrust could be valuable or important for some people who like. I'm using it myself. There is times when I do use 2 propellers, and that will save a block, means more explosives, which is good. Okay, so that was the last final bit. I wish they would do the variable propeller on the big ship propeller that goes on a ship. That would be also good. Or motor drive, the same as a heli blade. Anyway, that's my wishes, are not what's actually in this. It's not what this is about. This is about this build. So I will have a bit of a play with it and the performance, try and build up the performance a little bit, try some different settings. You know, if I point over towards the Nelson and do the, let's see, game speed, you see I'm showing at 69 to 70 frames per second quite consistently. If I look around, but there's still a stuttery lag, even though it's saying I'm getting 68. There it is, 68. It's still saying there's a lag. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Is it my machine? Possibly. I have an 8-core i7 water-cooled and an NVIDIA 1080 Ti, which is about as good as you can get on 32 gig of RAM, DDR4. So, and I run on SSDs. I don't think it's the machine, and I also run a lot of VR, which has to run at a consistent 60 frames per second, and I don't get any problems with other games. So yeah, sorry, that it does need there's something not quite 100%, but I'll make the most of it. I will make the most of it and rebuild ships and see what I can do. I might have to run at half textures or something in the bigger battles, but generally great update. Good to see updates to it. Graphically, I think it is excellent to see a better graphical fidelity in this game. It's something that's been mentioned by many people. Just a little optimization, I think, and we should be away and flying, which can happen over the next few months. Anyway, that's it for now. I am working on the next part of the campaign, and I'll be building some ships, because obviously we've got new stuff to play with and need to make sure it all works. But until next time, download the update, keep playing the game, and above all, have fun.